Imagine, just for a second, that you have a car. You take it to the mechanic because, it's making that weird rattling noise again.
Right. The one you keep ignoring.
Exactly. So you pull out, the mechanic walks out, and they look at you completely blankly. I mean, they have absolutely no memory of replacing your alternator last month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They don't remember the custom brake pads they installed last year. In fact, they look at your car as if it literally just rolled off the assembly line.
Like they've never seen it before.
Right. And they tell you they're going to start their diagnostics entirely from scratch. You take your keys and drive away, right?
You'd think they were crazy.
Totally. Yet we just blindly accept that exact same amnesia when it comes to our healthcare.
It's true.
But what if we didn't have to? What if the medical system actually remembered you? Today, we are exploring a structural revolution called Episodes of Care Solutions, which was pioneered by Dr. Frank Opelka.
It's a really fascinating approach.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission today is to examine how he combines a concept called the circle of arcs with multi-agent artificial intelligence. And we're going to see how he uses natural language prompts to basically rewrite how clinical care is managed, shifting the focus entirely back to you, the patient.
Yeah, and the contradiction you just pointed out with the car mechanic, I mean, that is the perfect starting point. We demand continuity for our machines, but we somehow just, tolerate absolute fragmentation when it comes to our own bodies.
It is wild when you put it like that.
Right. And the core premise we're looking at today argues that the biggest problem in medicine isn't a lack of scientific knowledge.
Right.
I mean, we have incredible clinical trials, massive data sets, brilliant treatments.
Right.
The breakdown happens in the architecture. There is this massive systemic failure in how that medical knowledge is structurally delivered to the patient's bedside.
So to understand the cure, we first need to diagnose the disease, right? And that disease, that structural flaw in modern medicine, is something called the encounter.
Yeah, the encounter is, simply put, the isolated medical visit. It is the architectural root of the entire problem we're talking about.
How so?
Well, because the current system relies on the encounter as its primary billable unit of care. So every single visit essentially operates in a vacuum.
Wow. Okay.
It has no long-term memory. There's no structural through line connecting, say, today's urgent care visit for a cough with last year's visit to a specialist for hypertension.
It makes me think of that movie, 50 First Dates.
Oh, yeah.
Where the main character wakes up every single day with no memory, and her partner has to constantly reintroduce himself and, explain their entire relationship from the very beginning.
This is exactly what being a patient feels like today.
Right. You sit on the crinkly paper on the exam table, and you're just forced to reintroduce yourself. You have to recount your history, remember your own allergies.
Which is hard enough to do.
Seriously. And list your surgeries to the system over and over again. And the kicker is, because the system only sees you as this one-off encounter, it just hands you a population average curve.
Right.
It judges your health against a generic statistical average of literally everyone else.
Which is incredibly dangerous when you're dealing with a complex biological system.
Yeah.
I mean, you aren't an average of everyone else. Dr. Opelka's solution completely dismantles that architecture.
Okay, so what does he replace it with?
He proposes shifting the fundamental unit of care from those isolated encounters, which, by the way, he views as mere subcomponents, to something called episodes.
Episodes, okay.
An episode is a bounded, accountable segment of care with a really clear beginning and end. Think of a knee replacement from the initial consult straight through to the final physical therapy session.
Got it. So that whole chunk is one episode.
Exactly. That entire journey is one episode. Then those episodes belong to something larger called an arc.
And an arc is like a clinical domain, right? Like cardiology or behavioral health or oncology. And all of these separate arcs culminate in his master framework, which he calls the circle of arcs. And I love the visual provided for this in the sources.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah. Picture a solar system. You, the patient, are the sun right smack in the center. Your primary care physician acts as the gravitational force on the inner ring, holding your direct everyday care together.
Right.
Then all your specialists, the cardiologist, the nephrologist, the physical therapist, they act like planets coordinating on the outer rings. They're all orbiting in the same solar system. They aren't often entirely different galaxies refusing to talk to each other.
And what's fascinating here is that the beauty of that solar system model is that it forces the system to establish a new baseline to measure your health against. It completely tosses out that generic population average curve we talked about.
Oh, thank goodness.
Right. The system achieves this through something called the Patient Risk Fingerprint.
Okay, patient risk fingerprint. What does that actually track?
It computes 5 specific dimensions for every individual. You've got clinical burdens, social determinants, frailty, cognitive state, and behavioral health.
Okay, wow.
And it recomputes this fingerprint at the start of every single episode to establish a baseline that is uniquely yours.
Let's make that concrete for a second. How does a computer actually measure something qualitative, like frailty or, cognitive state? Is it just scanning a doctor's hurried notes looking for the word frail?
No, it's much deeper than that. It pulls from the longitudinal data across all your arcs.
Okay.
So for frailty, it might synthesize data points like your recent gait speed recorded by a physical therapist, combined with a history of falls noted in an ER visit, and maybe your muscle mass index from a recent scan.
That is incredibly thorough.
It really is. And for social determinants, it might look at your zip code's access to fresh food or transportation.
Because that obviously impacts your ability to follow a treatment plan.
Exactly. Yeah. It recognizes that an episode of care for, say, a 30-year-old marathon runner needing knee surgery, is fundamentally different from the exact same surgical episode for an 80-year-old who lives alone and has mild cognitive decline.
That makes total sense. But we have to address the massive elephant in the room here.
I think I know where you're going.
Right. If we're building this beautiful interconnected solar system and we're constantly tracking these incredibly complex risk fingerprints across multiple specialists.
The data.
Yes. How on earth do we manage that data? We already have doctors burning out, spending hours just clicking through drop-down menus. If we ask a human care team to manually orchestrate all of this, the entire system collapses by Tuesday.
Oh, absolutely. It would. A brilliant architecture is entirely useless if the administrative burden just crushes the people trying to use it.
Right.
That is where the second half of Dr. Opelka's framework comes in. A knowledge orchestration layer, powered by multi-agent artificial intelligence.
There we go.
But we have to be extremely precise about what kind of AI we're talking about here. This is not about tossing sensitive patient data into some public internet chat bot and hoping it gives good medical advice.
Right, because I have to jump in here and play the skeptic for the listener.
Go for it.
Whenever anyone hears the phrase AI mixed with medical records, massive alarm bells go off. I mean, we are talking about putting software in charge of reading my private health history. How do we know it won't hallucinate a fake allergy, invent a diagnosis, or just leak my data to some tech giant server farm?
That is the single biggest barrier to clinical AI, and it is addressed head-on through an analogy of a human operating room team.
Okay, an OR team.
Yeah. The AI in this system does not function as one giant omniscient brain trying to do everything at once. It operates as a multi-agent team. Think of each individual AI agent as a specific specialist in that operating room.
Like the anesthesiologist versus the scrub nurse.
Exactly. Each agent wears one gown, has one hyper-specific job, and absolutely no freelancing is allowed.
I get the operating room analogy, but a human anesthesiologist doesn't hallucinate a fake medication history because they got confused by a language model. Software does. So how does giving the AI a metaphorical gown stop it from simply making things up?
Because of how the prompts are engineered.
Okay.
See, in consumer AI, a prompt is just a casual question you type in. In this architecture, a prompt is a strict, version-controlled, auditable job description.
Ah, okay. That's a big difference.
It dictates exactly what database the agent is allowed to read, exactly what format it must produce, and the hard rules it absolutely cannot break. Furthermore, these agents don't generate novel medical opinions.
They don't.
No, they're directed to be attention-returning, not decision-replacing.
Attention-returning. I like that.
Yeah, they're doing the grueling data gathering and synthesis so the human clinician has their time returned to them. The clinician makes the decision. The AI simply organizes the evidence on the desk.
And regarding the data privacy piece, if these agents are learning and getting smarter, isn't my data inherently moving around?
The operational rule is simple but ironclad. De-identified knowledge travels, the people do not.
Okay, what does that mean in practice?
The fastest way to get clinical AI wrong is to paste patient charts into public tools that, train their next model on your misery.
Right, definitely don't want that.
Exactly. This instrument does the opposite. It works on the hospital's own data, locked on its own servers inside the HIPAA boundary. Your protected health information never leaves the perimeter.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The AI might extract statistical lessons, say it notices a new correlation in recovery times, and share that de-identified insight globally to improve care. But your name, your history, your identity, that stays permanently locked in the vault.
Okay, that makes me feel a lot better.
Huh.
So if the AI is safely locked in the hospital's digital basement, acting under strict job descriptions, how is it actually interacting with the surgeons and nurses upstairs? Let's walk through what these agents actually do all day. The framework organizes these AI tools into 7 distinct families, right?
Let's follow a hypothetical patient. We'll call him Arthur, our 80-year-old needing that knee surgery, through a few of these families.
Perfect.
First, you have the synthesis family. Before Arthur even walks into the surgeon's office, a synthesis agent reconstructs his entire longitudinal story.
So it's pulling from everywhere.
Right. It pulls his scattered history from cardiology, his past surgeries, his current medications, and puts it into one concise preoperative brief for the surgeon.
That alone saves so much time. Then you have the concordance agents, right?
Exactly.
They operate in the background, mapping Arthur's proposed care plan against complex medical guidelines to ensure the surgeon isn't missing, say, a newly published protocol for patients with Arthur's specific risk fingerprint.
And you can't forget the transitions agents. When Arthur leaves the hospital to go to a rehabilitation facility, a transitions agent writes the handoff letter.
Which is usually where things fall through the cracks.
Exactly. But instead of a generic summary, it includes the specific clinical questions the surgeon needs the rehab nurses to monitor. It plugs the leaks where information usually spills out during a patient handoff.
Okay, I want to focus on my absolute favorite family of agents, though, the administrative combat agents. I honestly think this is a healthcare provider's ultimate superpower.
It is certainly the one that guarantees hospital staff will actually want to use the system.
Oh, 100%. Imagine being a doctor and you tell a patient they need a procedure, only for an insurance company to deny it, demanding proof of medical necessity.
The worst.
Normally, a doctor or a nurse has to sit on hold for 3 hours, digging through paper charts to find the one lab result that proves the patient qualifies.
Yeah, wasting valuable clinical time.
Right. So the administrative combat agent is an AI dedicated purely to fighting prior authorizations and payer denials. It automatically scans the chart, extracts the hard evidence, maps it directly to the insurance company's own rule book, and assembles a bulletproof authorization packet.
It's brilliant.
It fights the bureaucracy so the human beings don't have to.
Which perfectly sets up the governance family of agents. These are basically the internal police.
Making sure everything is running smoothly.
Exactly. They audit the other agents for hallucinations, verify that every claim has a citation pointing to the exact line in the medical record, and ensure the audit trail is pristine.
Wow.
All of these families work together seamlessly, but their most critical function happens at the very end of Arthur's journey.
Right, because in the episode of Terror Model, Arthur's episode doesn't just end when he walks out the clinic door. It has to be officially closed and proven.
To close an episode, the system deploys a specific 6-agent proof suite. And here's where we answer your hallucination concern definitively.
Let's hear it.
Only one single agent in this suite, the evidence abstractor, is legally allowed to touch Arthur's protected health information.
Just one.
It's just one. It reads the chart, extracts the facts, and leaves a digital pointer back to the original source. The other 5 agents can only read what the abstractor hands them. Together, they must render 3 final verdicts for the episode.
The 3 proofs. Number 1, proof of service. Was the care actually delivered? And what's fascinating is that the AI is sophisticated enough to look for downstream indicators.
Right.
It distinguishes between care that was genuinely not delivered versus care that was simply not documented by a rushed nurse. If a medication was given, there will be a pharmacy dispense record.
Exactly.
So if the record exists but the chart note is missing, the AI flags it for documentation review, rather than just assuming medical neglect.
The second is proof of safety. Did the episode avoid harm? The AI screens Arthur's postoperative recovery data against his unique patient risk fingerprint to ensure he didn't suffer complications that could have been predicted and prevented.
And the third proof is the one that really shifts the paradigm. Proof of benefit. Did the patient actually reach their goal?
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this is the most revolutionary metric.
How so?
Well, the outcome isn't measured against a generic hospital quota. It is measured against the goal Arthur explicitly stated before the episode ever began.
Oh, wow.
If Arthur's stated goal for his knee surgery wasn't to run a marathon, but simply to be able to walk his dog to the mailbox without wincing, that is the benchmark.
I love that.
The AI checks his post-op surveys to see if he can walk the dog. If he can, the episode is a success.
And what if no goal was recorded at the start?
The AI bluntly states that the benefit cannot be proven. It outright refuses to retrofit a fake range of motion benchmark just to make the hospital's quality metrics look good.
That is accountability on a level we rarely see. But listening to all of this, the solar system of arcs, the multi-agent AI operating room, the administrative combat, the proof suites, it sounds incredibly expensive.
It does sound like a lot.
It sounds like a massive sci-fi overhaul of a hospital. How does a slow-moving, cash-strapped health system actually implement this tomorrow without completely breaking down?
That is the genius of the implementation strategy. It is explicitly designed to be organizationally ordinary.
Organizationally ordinary.
Yeah, it requires absolutely no new institutions, no newly invented C-suite job titles, and no specialized informatics degrees. It relies entirely on borrowed structures and safety cultures that hospitals already use every single day.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The analogy they use for governing the AI is brilliant. They don't suggest inventing some brand new, highly political AI ethics board.
No, not at all.
They suggest treating the AI prompt library exactly like a hospital's drug formulary.
Governed by the Pharmacy and Therapeutics, or P&T, committee.
Right. Think about how a hospital manages medication. A doctor can't just, synthesize experimental chemotherapy in their garage, bring it into the hospital and dispense it in the hallway because they read a good article about it online.
That would be a disaster.
A total disaster. Dangerous, controlled drugs are managed through a strict formulary by the P&T committee. They evaluate safety, efficacy, and side effects before a drug is ever allowed in the building. By treating AI prompts like a drug formulary, hospitals use a risk management muscle they already possess to control a totally unprecedented technology.
It translates the terrifying abstract concept of AI governance into a daily, familiar routine. And they apply a similarly practical logic to the workforce managing these tools.
Who's running it?
Borrowing from a framework by Boris Cherny, a creator at Anthropic, they note that an AI implementation team naturally sorts into 5 dispositions.
Okay, what are they?
You have the prototyper, who is the enthusiastic surgeon always wanting to try the newest workflow, the builder, who translates that enthusiasm into a strict, secure prompt,
Got it.
the grower, who champions the new tool across different departments, and the maintainer, who runs the daily quality assurance.
But the most crucial role, the one that prevents the entire system from turning into a bloated mess, is the 5th disposition, the sweeper.
Yes. The sweeper's entire job is subtraction. They audit the prompt library, merge duplicate tools, and mercilessly delete the AI agents that seemed clever last month but are just no longer being used.
That makes a lot of sense.
And there's a very pointed warning in this framework. Subtraction is the one job the AI reliably cannot do for you.
Wow, okay.
An AI will happily generate infinite new workflows. A library that only grows eventually becomes unmanageable, leading to overlapping instructions and massive safety liabilities.
Which brings us to the actual sequencing. If a hospital wants to start this journey tomorrow, how they roll it out dictates whether the staff embraces it or rebels. The framework maps out 3 specific opening moves, right?
Yes.
First, open with administrative combat.
You start by fighting the insurance companies. It is the fastest way to win the trust of an exhausted clinical staff. Doctors and nurses will forgive a lot of early software bugs if the tool is actively saving them 3 hours a day of fighting payer denials on the phone.
Absolutely. Okay, what's second?
Second, you must mandate the capture of patient goals from day 1. Otherwise, your proof of benefit metric has nothing to measure, and the system fails its core mission.
Right. And third, you charter that P&T governance committee before your library reaches 10 instruments. You do not wait until the AI is operating in every department to suddenly try and figure out the rules.
Right.
But there is a huge cultural warning attached to this sequencing, isn't there?
A profound one. If the chief financial officer adopts this AI library primarily for billing optimization before the clinical quality committee adopts it for patient care, the culture of the hospital is ruined from day 1.
That is a harsh reality.
The clinical staff will instantly view the AI as just another administrative weapon designed to squeeze more productivity out of them, rather than a tool designed to help them heal people. It must be firmly established and protected as a clinical tool first.
Let's take a breath and look at the whole picture here.
Let's do it.
We started with the fragmented amnesiac encounter, where the medical system basically resets every time you walk in the door. We saw how Dr. Opelka's architecture replaces that broken model with the coordinated circle of arcs, keeping you, the patient, anchored as the sun in your own solar system.
Right.
And we explored how it empowers that structure with a secure, multi-agent AI team that fights your insurance battles, tracks your specific life goals, and ultimately gives your doctors their time back.
It bridges the massive architectural gap between the incredible science medicine knows and the disjointed reality of what care actually delivers today.
So what does this actually mean for you? It means that when you or a loved one enters a clinic in the future, the exhausting burden of being your own medical historian is gone. The anxiety of trying to connect the dots between your specialists and the frustration of fighting the billing bureaucracy, that burden is lifted off your shoulders.
Exactly.
You stop being a fragmented data point and become the center of a coordinated team, evaluated by the goals that actually matter to your daily life.
It's a profound operational shift, and it leaves us with a rather philosophical question to ponder.
Oh!
Yeah. If this architecture works, if the AI handles all the administrative combat, perfectly organizes the data, reconstructs your longitudinal story, and completely returns the clinician's attention to the bedside,
Right.
what does the future of the doctor-patient relationship actually look like? If the computer screens disappear from the exam room and the paperwork vanishes, are we, as patients and as a society, truly ready for a medical system where raw human connection is the only thing that doctor has left to focus on?
That is an incredible thought, going back to our mechanic. It's like pulling into the garage, and not only do they remember your car, they already know what roads you like to drive on, and they just want to ask how the road trip was.
Exactly.
That is a healthcare system worth building. Thanks for exploring this with us. We'll see you next time.